Welcome to Cricbuzz Chatter in association with Cricbuzz 11, the fantasy gaming app from the house of Cricbuzz. What a day it turned out to be. A lot of resilience shown by India in the back end of it, but at the start it was England and its pace bowlers. But overall, it was probably one of the better test matches that has gone on for a long, long time. It went right up to the end. At the end of the first innings, India and England had nothing to choose from. England in their third innings managed to get 192. India fought hard, especially Ravindra, Jadeja, Bumrah, and Siraj at the back end batted almost a session, but all of it went to vain. And in the end, England won by 22 runs. What a day it was.
Yeah, fantastic drama. A different approach to chasing a score. I've never seen that approach where pretty much off every fourth ball, Jadeja was going, I'll take the single and I'll leave it to you, Jasprit, to phase two. And then Siraj had the same kind of tactic as well. But I think India will look back at this week and they'll be disappointed. To lose by 22, you look at the amount of extras that India let go in the field compared to England. You're looking at a couple of collapses in the first innings. Rishabh Pant's run out. There's so many moments this week that you kind of look at from an Indian perspective and think, "Phew." They came back from Leeds, the first test. They bounced back brilliant edge bats, but I just feel this one's going to hurt them that little bit more. And I'd be interested to see how they get that mentality and that vibe back for that fourth test match in Manchester.
You use the word hurt, and I must say, I'm from Chennai. And one of the games that is always etched in my memory is the 99 India vs Pakistan test. Sachin Tendulkar in the second innings will get 100. He'll take it so close. In the end, Javagal Srinath would get out, played on very similarly. Ball hit his bat, pitched and went back, rolled on, hit the stump. I was a ball boy in that game, so I remember that game very vividly. And it was heartbreaking to say the least. Similarly, today, I know a lot of friends and fans who have been so disappointed with the result as it panned out. But what happens to Ben Stokes? In 2019, we saw him in the World Cup at Lord's. He does something special. Today, on a big day like this, when England needed him, he just stands up. What is it with Ben Stokes and Lord's?
Well, like 6 years on from the World Cup final, where I thought for a brief moment we were going to get a tie, and then surely we'd have had a super over, and England would have won the super over, and Jofra would have had to have bowled it. Yeah, he's an incredible leader. I mean, go back to Mohammed Siraj. It's the only ball that he middled, and he backs him onto the stumps. So that was slightly unfortunate. Ben Stokes as a player is phenomenal. I've not seen Ben lose many key moments. I was trying to kind of think back to Ben Stokes in the start of his career right till now in 2025. And every time England have needed something from Ben Stokes, when the pressure's been on and the game's on a knife edge, I don't think I've ever seen Ben lose. That's why when I arrived this morning and last night when I said I just fancied England because of Stokes. England don't lose many games of cricket that are tight when Ben Stokes is in the action. And he's leading this team. He drives the mentality, gets the ball in hand, bowls a colossal spell. Dread to think what the S&C and the management are thinking of Ben bowling all those overs, because I thought he was on an over budget of 5 or 6, but he kept on going and going, and he's driving this team forward with a strong mentality, and they all just followed him. And his tactical awareness, the spread of the field. There was times where I thought, oh, maybe he could bring the field in to make Jadeja play a big shot. He didn't. He just went, if it's going to take 60, 70 overs, we'll just wait for that one mistake. And it wasn't a mistake, but that little bit of the rub of the green went England's way towards the back end. But I think with the way that they bowled last night and the way that they came out this morning and that spell from Jofra, I never felt, as soon as Rishabh Pant got out, DK, I never, ever felt India were going to win the game. I just thought Pant held.
Right then. So within the first 10 minutes of the day, you thought India's going to have it hard.
I just felt that Pant had to get a decent score and to get that dressing room confident. They're a young dressing room. As soon as Rishabh was out, and then the obviously key wicket of Rahul again, that man Ben Stokes produces one that nips back up the slope, a peach of a delivery. I never felt that, even down the back end, I never felt there was a moment today. Maybe when Rishabh danced down and hit that 1-4 and he got one early down to fine leg for about 15 minutes before Rishabh, but I thought, oh, this could be on. But as soon as Rishabh was out, I just thought this is not possible for the Indian side.
And Michael, you've been around England team for a long time. You've led it and you've seen many a captain. Where do you rate Ben Stokes, the English captain?
Well, I think he's right up there. I really do. I mean, his win percentage is better than I think everyone else. I guess, we're judged in, and whether it's right or wrong, we're judged as England captains on Ashes series. The last Ashes series was a drawn 2-2. The Ashes is in a few months' time. I can't believe it's not going to be competitive with the way that Ben leads his side and the way that Jofra Archer's back. Hopefully Mark Wood will come back. England are batting okay. They made mistakes in the second innings and they'll have to nullify that if they want to win the Ashes. You can't go making the mistakes that England made with the bat and get too many victories. But I think he's right up there. And I don't think he has to win an Ashes series to be deemed the greatest ever England captain. I think what he's done for this team and the way that he's played this expansive game across Test match cricket for a number of years now, the drama. I don't think I've ever had a week under Ben and Baz that we haven't had entertainment. Every single, and you must love it as well. I know you want in India to do well, but the way that this England side play, the first test they chase, they win. Edgbaston, even when they lose in an entertaining fashion. They get absolutely hammered, which you go, oh, crikey. But they're being led by someone that's just a genius. He really is a genius in the way that he manages people. Just his gut instinct on the last morning to bowl Jofra Archer. I reckon most captains, and myself included, would have started with Bryden Carr. But he started with Jofra because he just said to us on the television, he said, I just had a gut feeling 6 years on from what Jofra did on this venue in the World Cup final. I felt Jofra was going to make impact. And he did straight away.
Now, if you watch the day's proceedings, a couple of things that Ben Stokes stood out with. First thing, the choice of bowling Jofra Archer from the pavilion end, where not much happened. But also Ben Stokes, the bowler. Yesterday, he bowled 4.4, got the wicket of the last ball. Akashdeep clean bowled. Today, he came in from the same end and just kept going. So if you do break up his spells, it was three spells 4.4 yesterday, 9.2 in the morning session. And between lunch and tea, he bowled another marathon 10 over spell. Now, all of England have been saying, oh, it's not great for his body. And Ben himself has come out and said, I'm not going to be bowling those long spells. But when the game is on the line, that man is unstoppable. You can't take the ball away from him. And he keeps the game so exciting. Two all rounders today were standout performers. Ben Stokes for England and Ravindra Jadeja for India. And we'll speak about Ravindra Jadeja quite a bit, the attitude, the resilience, but that's what made it exciting. Very similar to the exciting contest that you can play on the Cricbuzz 11 app. All you need to do is download it and just pay 1 rupee and you'll be ready to go. That first hour today, Michael, things kind of exploded a bit in India's face there. We had Rishabh Pant getting out. After that, it was KL Rahul who got LBW. And soon after, Washington Sundar. It was a good spell of bowling, no doubt about it. But they kind of lost one too many in that session, didn't they?
Yeah, and you go back to last night where they lost those three late wickets. You know, that really is where the Test match has been lost for India. They should have chased down that 193. There was enough in the pitch, I guess, to cause it as a little bit of a problem. But in terms of a batting lineup on paper, you're looking at it and going, they surely have 193. And the one thing that I'd be slightly concerned about this India side, and it's led by Shubman Gill in his third game. You know, he's a young captain, and he'll be delighted with the fight. That's one of the first things you want as a captain. Just fight right to the end. They've got that, but he will be slightly concerned that you go to Leeds, the collapse. The first innings collapsed down the back end. The little collapse last night, and then another three quick wickets this morning. You don't win many Test matches when you lose so many wickets in clusters, and that's something that India can't afford in the last two games.
And the one thing, walking into day 5, the one thing that stood out was the first hour had everything going for the team. For whichever team did well, actually. And it was England who came out trumps. Fast bowlers, Jofra Archer, 2 wickets, a great cotton bowl to his right. And just before a session break, lunch, losing another wicket. This seems to be something that plagues India. Nitish Reddy, who again put up a really nice partnership and then ended up nicking off. Jasprit Bumrah, the same, kept fighting hard before he got out just before tea. So losing wickets just before an interval of play or a break in play, rather, is something that seems to haunt India a little bit.
Yeah, they obviously like the food here. And thinking about the lunches that they can have if they're obviously dismissed, that's just concentration. You've played enough cricket to understand that the more you think about batting differently towards the end of a session, the more you're probably going to get out. You've just got to naturally play. Just naturally play. And, that's just a mentality thing that, this team has to get better at. I guess the inexperience of the group, they're an inexperienced group. Just little things like Rishabh's hand injury, it clearly had an effect. Not having him be, I know Juvrel's a very good keeper, but not having Rishabh behind the stumps because he gives it a little bit of chirp and he's tactically very good.
And I'll tell you who was giving a lot of chirp today, Harry Brook. He was just going hard at Nitish Kumar Reddy, saying, this is not IPL. We are not playing for SRH together. This is different. This is Test cricket. I'm sure Nitish Reddy knew where he was, but Harry Brook was I can't say sledging, but he was just having a go. But that is again something I want to speak. This game was so heated up, so much fun to watch, exciting. But at the end of it, when the game got over, the hug that Ben Stokes gave to Siraj, or the way all the English players came and Siraj and Jadeja, shaking hands. It was such a nice picture, I thought, a nice way of portraying what Test cricket is all about. You fight, you go hard, but at the end of it, you get only one winner, and so was the case with England. Did you enjoy those last pictures that happened, that unfolded in that session just after tea?
Yeah, look, I like to see a little bit of confrontation out in the middle. I just think it's a test that, the ultimate test of a player, and it's going to get heated. You got 11 versus 11, fighting for the countries, and every now and again. And I never this week thought it stepped over the line.
No,
There was never once that I thought. Even Siraj, all right, he brushed.
it's a bit much, isn't it? 15%. I feel that harsh on the guy.
I agree. I agree. I just looked at if you're gonna do Siraj for 15%, there's probably 5 or 6 others that should be noticed there.
Yeah.
I never looked at the game this week and thought anybody was stepping over the line. It had a little bit of heat. There was a bit of confrontation, but as you rightfully say, at the end they all were shaking hands. And I know Ben Stokes well enough. He loves that kind of game. He loves it when both teams are going at it. There's a bit of chirp. Even today, when Washington Sundar walked out the bat, Baz McCullum just reminded the England players, not that they needed reminding, just give it a bit more of that. Just remind Washington that in the press last night, he said that India had won this game. Washington said it's 2-1, they've won at Lords, and they obviously have played great. That's not the case. Whether he'll get a bit of a slap on the wrist from the management, I'm not too sure. But I enjoyed the whole contest, from the skill to a turgid pitch for 2 days that suddenly sprung into life on the last stream. No idea what happened to the pitch, but someone injected some life into it on day 3, and we've had another epic test match.
When you have two countries going against each other in a game of cricket, you want that passion to come across, especially in a world where we want this format to survive, this kind of rivalry where they're going at each other, having a go. Like when Rishabh Pant got out, Jofra Archer said something to him at the end, and when Washington Sundar got out, even then Jofra Archer had a word with him, and that is okay, and I feel that should be definitely encouraged. But after that, Nitish Reddy came in, forged a nice partnership. But the last 2 wickets, they batted for so long. The drama that happened, because it could have gotten over any time. But have a look at the number of balls. Jadeja and Bumrah played 132 balls, 108 minutes they lasted. And again, Jadeja and Siraj as well. Quite phenomenal the length of time this ninth wicket and 10th wicket held on together.
Yeah, DK, again, you'd have played in many teams where there's nothing worse than a tail ender batting well when you've not batted well as a top ball.
And I also want to ask you this. Why is it that the tail enders bat so well when the game is on the line, and not so much in the first innings when they're much easier?
I told you before, bowlers are done. I told you, they're just a bit silly. But the courage, they were getting bounced and they had to wear a few. And, the pitch, it did slow down. And again, India must look at that and think, last night we actually did a lot of the work. We got to 44 for 1. It was in the 14th over, and suddenly Karen Nair leaves one off Briding Cast. That for me is where the game got a little bit messed up for India, and they lost a little bit of concentration. Shubman came out, and he didn't look the Shubman from the previous 5 innings. He looked a little bit distracted, and obviously Akashdeep comes in, probably not the right choice of a night watcher. He's a striker. He could have used him today striking a ball. So 1 or 2 tactical things that India did this week I didn't quite agree with, but the one thing I'll say about this Indian side is, and they're very similar to an Australian side, they never give up. Correct. They never ever give up, and that is a real great trait to have that in a team. And I think Shubman can be proud of the fact that inside 3 games, I'm looking at it as an old man who used to captain a bit, and I want to see a team fight. I want to see a team never give up. I never want to see the towel get thrown in. And so far, what I've seen from India and this England side is 2 competitive teams led by 2 really good captains who are never going to give up. We're in for a classic last 2 games. It's not over this series.
Absolutely.
It's not over. The Bumrah kind of question will be asked over the next 8 days. Will he play at Old Trafford? I will ask you, surely with the series 2-1 down, Jasprit has to get in the ice bath, has a few massages, give him a bit of ice cream, and make sure that he's playing in Manchester in the 4th game.
He's very important, without a doubt. I mean, what happens when he plays. He almost spearheads the attack and gets it done as well. But speaking about India bowling is obviously something that we will do, but I want to speak about the English team's bowling attack. They bowled a lot of pace consistently, hardly an overspin right at the back end. The last wicket Shoaib Bashir got, but it was Vokes, Archer, Ben Stokes, Cars. We've spoken about Ben Stokes, but let's speak about the other 3 bowlers. What do you think about how they went about it today?
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought Chris Woakes was underutilised because he got the key wicket just before lunch of Nitish Kumar Reddy. Archer's spell was great. He's that that X factor,
Mm.
that little kind of real perk that you need as a skipper. Throw the ball to Jofra Archer. We just like that with Jofra and hope that he stays fit.
I
Brian,
want to ask you this. He's bowled consistently above 90. So you think he's just quelled all inhibitions about what it means to play Test cricket? He's fit, ready to go, you think?
well, we'll wait and see. It's the first time of asking, and he's come out with a massive tick.
Right.
Brilliant tick. But can he play next week? Can he play a week on Wednesday at Old Trafford? The pitch at Old Trafford can have a bit of bouncing. You'd want a Jofra Archer style bowler, and he's backing up this Test match with another good performance. That's the one thing that we want to see from Jofra Archer. I don't think he's a bowler that can play 5 matches on the trot, but can you get 3 out of the 5 in? Can he back a good performance up with another one next week? We'll have to wait and see. But Bryden Carse has been a tremendous find for England. You look at Ben Stokes and his mentality, his drive, his combative edge. Well, Bryden Carse has got all of that.
Mm.
He's got all of that. He obviously can't bat as well as Ben at the minute, but in terms of his bowling and his effort and his mentality, England, I'm always looking ahead to Australia, and I know that we shouldn't do because this is a big, big series, but I want England to win an Ashes series in Australia. And I think in Bryden Carse, Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, Gus Atkinson, Ben Stokes himself, I think they're getting a cartel of bowlers that could potentially cause some damage in Australia, which is great for the England cricket team.
Now, the one thing that I always like doing is putting you on the hot seat, and I think it's time to put Michael in the hot spot. So many times during this test series, India has had the upper hand, and probably the series score line could have easily been 3.
Yeah.
Isn't that fair? In Leeds, they were consistently ahead in the game. The last game they got, obviously, the last day proved to be very different to what they thought it out to be. Edgbaston, they dominated. Even here, with the ball, they were slightly on the back foot, but with the bat, they had an opportunity. That Rishabh Pant run out. And then so many other things during this test match, 63 extras, all of that. How do you think and why do you think these kind of things happen to a young Indian team?
Yeah, and you go back to Rahul dropping Jamie Smith in the first innings. England could easily have been bowled out for 280 290, and that would have been a big play. They certainly would have had a decent lead. I just think the Indian team at the minute, you go back to last year, they lost at home to New Zealand. They then go to Australia and they get beat in Australia. They've probably just lost that belief, that little bit of confidence that you require when it gets tough and you're on top. And when you're on top in Test match cricket, if you just switch off and you allow a team like England back in, England are good enough to go, okay, you've allowed us back in. And quickly, because of the way that England play the game, they're so expansive. And that's not just with the bat, it's with their bowling. When they get a wicket, you always think they're going to get a couple of quick wickets because Ben's very clever with his field settings. They go really aggressive with their lengths and they're not an easy team to play against. And that's why when you get on top against them, you can't switch off. And you go back to Leeds, they switched off twice with the bat, first innings and second innings. Edgbaston, they didn't switch off in the first innings, got that massive score. They switched off slightly for that partnership between Harry Brook and Jamie Smith. And here this week, I think this is the week that'll hurt India.
Yeah.
The first week, I just thought, drop catches, that was it. But this week, they had England on a plate, ready to be taken and 2-1. And they just weren't at the right times. And you have to say they weren't quite good enough at the right times to really make it count. But what I'm seeing in this innings, they're not far off. They're really close. But the one thing I would be worried about, and I'll ask you, Jasprit Bumrah's played 2 Test matches. He's bowled like Jasprit Bumrah, but they've lost both games. How can you lose 2 games with Jasprit? And then the game that he doesn't play, it's almost as the other bowlers go, we better step up to the plate. But Siraj was great this week. Akashdeep, not quite what he was at Edgbaston. Is there something in that Jasprit kind of, when he's around, I'm not saying he can put pressure on the other bowlers, but do they step up a lot more when he's not playing?
I don't think so. I say that only because I thought the bowling unit did quite nicely here. Look, Jasprit Bumrah was brilliant. We know it in the first innings. But in the second innings, Siraj showed how good he is. He came in with the new ball, that wicket of Pentucket and Ollie Pope back to back. And those kind of things matter. Akashdeep had a great test at Edgbaston. Definitely not the best first innings lodge. But I thought in the second innings, he bowled a really nice spell. The slope was something that he was not getting used to. And if you go test by test, the fact that Bumrah's around, he does a job for you. And I don't believe that Bumrah has anything to do with why this happened. This has got to do with the batting. They were in a commanding position both times in the test and they lost out because of a cluster of wickets falling. I remember in the 2019 Edgbaston test, we were chasing 194 and we didn't end up getting that. And those things definitely hurt you a lot.
I think Ben got 4 on that occasion.
Absolutely. He got I don't remember. He got me in the first innings, but I don't know in the second innings it was, I think, Jimmy Anderson. But the point here is it was a low score. We should have definitely ended up getting it. Virat Kohli was batting beautifully, but no one gave him enough time as a partnership with him, and he ended up, losing it from Hardik Pandya getting LBW towards the end. Small things that and that came to kind of bite us in the back a little later. Even though we won the Nottingham Test, it almost felt like no, we should have won that Edgbaston Test. We were ahead consistently, and I agree this Lord's test will definitely hurt India. And what I really like about this Indian team is how much they have fought. But yes, Rishabh Pant, that run out, even Shubman Gill has come out in the press conference and said that was a very, very key moment in this game because that was a partnership that looked comfortable. They were set, the bowling was tired. They could have gone on to easily have a 60, 70 run lead, just that partnership in itself. And that one wicket fell within the next 7 balls. KL Rahul fell, and things ended up changing so much for India. And these small moments, they come back to bite you. The ball changed. When Bumrah was bowling like a genius, ball was swinging. Why did you need to change the ball? And they look at it and go, were those moments required when we are ahead in the game? Small things come back to, bite you in
But
test cricket.
how can they bounce back?
That's a great question. I genuinely feel in terms of the 11, they should probably have the same 11. I don't think you need to make much of a change here. This 11 looks good. They fought. They did well. I wouldn't be doing too many changes. Only thing I'd be looking at, which we've already heard, is Rishabh Pant. How fit is he? Is he good to go in the next test? Somehow get Jasprit Bumrah to play the next test as well, because three tests is what they want to play. You'd rather play this test knowing that there's a chance of leveling it and then think about the oval test rather than not having him around at Manchester. And if the series gets done, there's no point thinking about spilt milk after that. And that is what I want this Indian team to see, because this test, it had ebbs and flows. England were on top, then India came back on top. England somehow found a way to wrestle it and take it back at the end. But the beauty about this young Indian team is they fought right to the end. Just like you said, they were there, they were in it, there was grit, there was determination, and that should definitely spur this dressing room. Yes, there were phases like last evening where they lost 3 wickets, this morning where they lost 3 wickets. But the fight, even shown by Nitish Reddy, solid in defense, didn't get beaten almost a ball, batted beautifully, got out to a real nice one from Vokes, a good partnership. And then every partnership after that just showed you that they care, they wanted to win, they did everything possible, but it didn't happen. And that's how Test cricket is. It's beautiful, it's exciting to watch. And if you want to do something else that is exciting, go and play all those exciting contests on the Cricbuzz 11 app. All you need to do is download the app and pay 1 rupee, and you will be good to go. And this test match for me was all about this young Indian team learning from a few small little mistakes that happened during the course of 5 days. But if they reflect on it and get better in those small little areas, there is no doubt that India will do very well in Manchester. If you were in the Indian team, you were the Indian coach, what would you be telling the Indian team now?
Oh, I'd be saying that a lot about the positives and the fight and the spirit, making sure that the younger players realise that you're allowed to take on risks and it's not a problem. I don't want to have a team which is worried about making a mistake. You're going to make mistakes, but you've got to have that risk element to a game. I'd be slightly perturbed by the chase. I'd have liked to see India take a few more risks today with the bat in hand and try and challenge England a little bit more so with a risky shot or two. But they're a young team led by a young captain that will get better. I guess it's just those moments when it gets critical. You want the team to realise that you can't just switch off in Test cricket. That's the only thing I'll say. Rishabh Pant's run out just to try and get a batter who's an experienced batter 100 before lunch. Why not just wait till after lunch? Playing great, you've won the session. Just make sure you win the session and you don't give England a chance of just getting that momentum and that hope going into their lunch period. And that's exactly what happened. And throughout this series, you've looked at a number of little things that have gone and you go, oh, India have just switched off. They're catching it headingly. That's just concentration. Concentration for a young side. And they'll get better. They'll get better at that. But they're up against an England side now that will make a change. Shoaib Bashir won't be playing. His hand is going to be too bad. So England will bring in either a frontline spinner like a Jack Leach. They might bring an all-round spinner in like a Liam Dawson to give them more of an all-round quality in terms of backfield and left-arm spin. Or they might actually just go with Jacob Bethel and throw Jacob Bethel into the mix and use his left-arm spin. I would think under Ben and Baz, for every test match that they've played, I'm pretty sure they've always played an out-and-out spinner. So I think they'll try and pick their next best spinner, and that'll either be Jack Leach or Liam Dawson. And actually, it's not a bad thing for England just to have a look. Because Shoaib's done nicely. Obviously got the key wicket here at the end, but it's good for England just to have a look to see what they could do without
What else they have in the
yeah,
tank.
what else? And it might be that, Jacob Bethel, if he plays, he might bat at 3 and Ollie Pope goes back in the engine room. There's just little things that are happening to this England side going to this big year that I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's sad on Shoaib Bashir, but for the team, I don't think it's a bad thing for them to have a look at another spinner next week.
Interesting. I feel India shouldn't make any changes. Michael feels England will be forced to make one change. It could be Dawson, it could be Bethel, it could be Jack Leach. But what is definitely and for sure happening is another exciting test match with Manchester. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Michael. 5 days of
I'm actually going to go and try and find Wasim Jaffa now for a quick see how he is.
What's the last tweet that you put out to him? You said one way when KL Rahul got out. Is there anything else that I've missed there?
No, Chitiswar Pujara.
You gave a very bold prediction. What did you say? 4-0, isn't it?
No, I said 3-1.
No,
I said 3-1, and I kind of wound up Pujara with 4-0 after the first Test match loss. But at the start, and I'll always stick 3-1. There'll be rain in Manchester.
There'll be rain in Manchester.
There'll be rain in Manchester. I think England will win the last Test. 3-1.
I'll tell you, in Leeds, we dropped a lot of catches, but Yashasvi, the main culprit there, came back in Lords, made a difference, took a wonderful catch at Gully. And that's what Team India will do. Bounce back from adversity. Don't listen to what Michael is saying. His crystal ball can go wrong at times. I believe it's going to be a 2-2 series. India will come back in Manchester. If rain bothers them, it doesn't matter, but I'm sure they'll make a match out of it. But we will come back together, same place. And this is Dinesh Karthik and Michael Vaughan signing off from Cricbuzz Chatter in association with Cricbuzz 11.
Where's Wazid?